Well, good afternoon, people. Man cave time again on another bright and sunny day. But I suppose in a way this is where it gets a bit complicated, because this is episode 5 of the my little Hebridean adventure. And I'm going to show you the map. I mean, just by looking at the map, this is Lewis and Harris we're looking at. By far the biggest island in the chain is Harrison, because it's all one island. But we came across on the ferry from Berneray. Very complicated journey on the ferry. It doesn't show it on the line, but it zigzagged all over the place, avoiding low rocks. And we came across to Leverborough, which was the little village, well, the village that was vainly named after, or named by, Lord Leverhulme, when he was trying to industrialise the place. More of that later. So we took this road. I came out this way, round to this beautiful bay, Luskintire Bay this is, and Sailbost. The beaches here are fantastic. The tide was in, unfortunately, but you can get some idea of what it's like. And came up over towards the east coast, effectively, and up to here, and a little run part way down the Golden Road. Yeah, that one there, the Golden Road. So called the Golden Road because it was put in to serve these little properties, if you like, to connect them all together, and it cost an absolute fortune. And the locals said he spent that much money on that road ought to be golden. But either way, yeah, Golden Road, and then backtracked, then down through Tarbert. I mean, this is a natural break, really, when you think about it, and between Lewis and Harris. And there's some suggestion as at some time in the long and distant past that this was Harris and the rest of it was Lewis. But either way, they've moved the boundary now quite a way up. So we came across here. Bear in mind, I was suffering more and more with this blasted cold all the time, and I just needed to get as much in as I could. And it's a lovely view down over Loch Seaforth over here, and up through, and then across into Lewis, which was about there somewhere, and then came across here, and then across, instead of going up to Stornoway straight away. There were things I wanted to show you, things I wanted to take in. I didn't get to Ewig Bay across here, which is where the Lewis chessmen were found. More of that later as well. The standing stones at Callanish caught me out a little bit because the visitor centre's closed for renovation. But and then up to Duncarloway Broch, which is a stone tower that's in very good nick, really, considering how old it is. And then up to, I'm calling it the Black House Village at Girana. Had a lovely cup of coffee there, and then carried on up and up to the lighthouse at the Butt of Lewis, then round to Ness, in Port of Ness. And that was about it. I mean, I couldn't squeeze much into that day, and then I backtracked and came down to my accommodation at Stornoway. So yes, it was quite a long day, really, considering the distances that we covered beforehand, and I just wish I wasn't feeling so downright wretched as I was that day. I just had to get it all in as much as I possibly could, though. I just got to try and make it interesting for the video. But it was great to get back to those places that I visited when I was working. and it was great to be recognised by some of the staff that I used to visit. But yeah, it's perhaps not my best. I appreciate that, but it sort of helps complete the picture. All right, so see what you think anyway. All right, cheers.
Good morning, people. I don't think my microphones. Oh, it is, yeah. First aboard from Bernay to Harris. First on board, that's great. 7:05 in the morning, ridiculous.
Perfect.
Cheers. So that's it. We're on our way to Harris. And I'll see you in a bit when we get off. Cheers, bye. Well, this is us on Harris. That's the small crossings anyway. And at least on Harris, I know where I'm going, allegedly. Now, as I said, we've arrived on Harris, although really speaking, I should refer to it as Harris and Lewis. Harris and Lewis, yeah, the name gives the impression they're separate islands, but they're not. There's one island. There's one massive lump. It's the biggest landmass of the Western Isles, is Harris and Lewis. So the southern part is where we are, is Harris, and then some miles up is the border between Harris and Lewis, and it's just really doesn't make a lot of sense in so many ways. There is almost a natural break, but that isn't where the border is these days between the two. I'm fairly sure in the past it has been at Tarbert, but I'll talk more about that when we get there. I've spent 3 seasons working out here on Lewis and Harris with the coach before enforced retirement, shall we say, due to COVID. And like so many places up here in Scotland, it really got under my skin. But the one thing that really gets my goat these days is when I read about total ownership, particularly when that total ownership is through absentee landlords. Harris and Lewis was, until the mid-1800s, was the property of the Seaforth Mackenzies. I mean, back in the day, back in medieval times, land was grabbed from neighbouring clans, clan warfare, that sort of thing, just to gain more ground, more land. And Harris and Lewis were really the property of the Mackenzies. But Lord Seaforth, the head of the Seaforth Mackenzies, decided it was time to cut and run, make the money and go. And he sold up to a businessman, James Matheson. Matheson just wanted, he'd made a fortune from the opium trade, the Chinese opium trade, and he just wanted to buy an island and build himself a castle, which is what he did. He bought Harris and Lewis. I've no idea how much for, but he bought Harris and Lewis and built Lewis Castle up at Stornoway. And he tried to evict the crofters, part of the clearances really. Tried to evict the crofters to make way for sheep farmers from further south. Get a lot more money for for grazing than the peppercorn rents that he was getting off his crofters. But there were fights, there were trespasses, there was a lot of action taken by the crofters to keep their crofting rights, and they won through. And as a result of that, Matheson sold up. He sold up towards the end of the Great War, in actual fact. I'll just look at that. It's not the best of days today. It's a bit grey, but just look at that beach. It's just, that's what these islands are all about. So yeah, he sold up towards the end of the Great War, and the guy who bought the islands off him was Lord Leverhulme. Leverhulme is best known for his soap industry. He was a soap magnate. Anybody that comes from Merseyside will know of Port Sunlight down by Birkenhead. Well, that was him. His Sunlight soap empire still exists, and he decided he was going to branch out. So he bought Harris and Lewis off Matheson, and like I say, this was towards the end of the Great War. His plan was he was going to spread out his business interests. He was going to start. He was going to get involved in the commercial fishing trade. He was going to increase the fishing fleet on Lewis and Harris, and he was going to build canning plants, processing plants. And when these soldiers came back from the Great War, the crofters who'd gone to war, he was going to offer them jobs, because they would want work, of course. He was going to offer them jobs working in this fishing industry. Well, they came back from the Great War. Yes, of course they wanted jobs, but the jobs they wanted were the jobs they'd left behind. They wanted to go back to crofting, and it didn't work. He persevered for a few years, but it didn't work, and eventually he did the decent thing, to be honest. He accepted it as shall we call it, a lost leader. Just look at the colours here. Just look at this. The water is so shallow. You can see the sand. It's just beautiful up here. It really is. I miss my work here. Really do. But anyway, Leverhulme, he had the gall to name a village after himself, the village of Leverborough. Lapwing, good to see. But like I say, he gave up on the idea and handed the islands back to the residents. Didn't sell it to them, he just gave it to them. They gifted the islands back to the residents, which was a damn decent thing to do, in my opinion. And he went back south with his tail between his legs, I suppose, really. But this is where I used to come with my coach. This is Luskintire Bay. When we got off the ferry at Tarbert, I was supposed to just go up to the hotel at Stornoway, but I knew this place was here, obviously, and this view was here. So I sort of took the decision. Hardly an executive decision, I know, but I took the decision to come around here, turn around at the junction just below us, just behind us there, and park up here so that people could take in the view. It's a beautiful campsite. We just passed a campsite behind us, and the one campsite I always wanted to stay on was that one, and a couple of years ago we did with the camper van. So that was one dream realised. But like I say, this is Luskintire Bay. Over the way, directly opposite, looking straight across at it, is the island of Tarrantay. There was a reality TV, one of the first ones I think it was Castaway, I think it was called, and It's one of the first programs, one of the first series that Ben Fogle got involved with. And these people were cast away on this island out in the wilds of northwest Scotland. Never really showed you just how close Tarrantay was to the main island, but that's it over there, just a short distance away. That's Tarrantay across there. But this is, it's mighty special, is this, it really is. So I'm just going to take a quick photograph. Bear with. So that's it, that's Luskintire Bay, Horgabost behind us. But it is absolutely beautiful around here. Hopefully you can see why it's so special to me. And the roads are marvellous as well. More of my beloved single tracks. And across here on Harrison Lewis there is more evidence of the black houses. To be honest, quite often you'll see the abandoned ruins of the black house in the gardens or in the land. The more modern houses have been built in the place of them, the white houses effectively. Harris is famous for instance, the green shed here on the right. In that green shed there will be a weaving loom. Harris Tweed. Harris Tweed can only be Harris Tweed if it's made by crofters, if it's woven by crofters on the Isle of Harris and Lewis. But so many of these cottages, so many of these houses have got a shed in the garden, and the shed tends to hold the weaving loom. Even on a day that isn't perfect, it's still absolutely beautiful. Over this next stretch, the geology across here, it's for the technically minded, the rock is called Lewisian gneiss. It's a very, very, very old, one of the oldest outcropping rocks in the world is Lewisian gneiss, and it's almost like a moonscape really. Well, what you can imagine to be a moonscape anyway. Evidence that peat cutters work across here. There's more up on Lewis actually, just inland from Stornoway, but there are places across here where you can see the peat's been cut in very straight lines and then stacked out to dry. Before being collected a little bit later in the year. Absolutely wild out here. The old Himalayan is a perfect bike across here, to be honest. Now we're coming back down towards Tarbert, which is where the ferry will be leaving from tomorrow afternoon, for us to get back across to Skye. But before we go down to Tarbert, there's a road on the right that I want to take a run along. I don't think I'm going to run all the way along it, but I was never able to get across there with the coach because it's just too narrow. But it's a road with a story to it. Let's put it that way. Here we are, look at the sign, the finger post at the top. the Golden Road. Now we're told that the Golden Road is so called. It doesn't actually go, well, it actually goes right the way back down to the ferry terminal we just got off at, but it doesn't go to any particular destination. This road was built to connect small settlements, crofts, that sort of thing, because there was getting to be no interaction between the crofters, between the residents. So they built this road, and it cost an absolute fortune. They invested so much money in the building of this road that the locals said it's cost so much money to build that road, it ought to be made of gold, the Golden Road, and that's how come it's got its name. So this is a first for me. I'm not going to ride all the way down it. It's quite some distance, about 28 miles I think. No, it isn't. About 20 miles. But like I say, it was built purely to connect. Oh, look at the gorse that's come out nicely. Nice splash of colour. It was built purely to connect up the crofts and the little settlements across here. Because there was just no interaction between the residents at all without the road being here. It's not that long since it was built. I can't remember how long, to be honest, but it looks like there's a nice view opening up just across here, just out to sea. Oh yeah. Absolutely lovely. Salmon fishing pen, salmon farming pens out there. See, look at the view here, this is marvellous. Those circular pens out there. This is the salmon, the smolt, shall we say. The youngsters are hatched in freshwater locks, small freshwater locks, and then transported, when they reach the smolt size, they're transported from the freshwater locks out to these larger pens. It's to replicate the life cycle effectively, because they hatch in the wild, they hatch in the freshwater streams and then make their way back out to sea before coming back in to lay their own eggs. So yeah, they replicate the life cycle of the salmon as much as they can. So that's your salmon farming. So there are livings to be earned across here. It just tends to involve a bit of hard work. So that's a taste of the Golden Road. I'm going to turn around and go back now. The further south we go on this, the further I've got to ride back to Tarbert and make our way north up towards Lewis. There's places still places I want to visit and show. Quite a bit further north yet, and I've got to find somewhere to stay tonight, of course, so we'll see how that goes. So I'll switch off again now for a while, and I'll see you back up towards Tarbert. Well, we've back at the main road, and I fancy a cup of coffee, so just a short run down to Tarbert. We'll have a look at the ferry terminal where we'll be departing from tomorrow afternoon, and then find ourselves a cup of coffee. So yes, out that way to the right of us, that way lies the Isle of Skye, where we're going tomorrow. So there we are. Tarbert. Tarbert. No, there's places all over Scotland bear the name Tarbert, different spelling sometimes, but always means the same thing. It's from the Old Norse, and it means crossing place. So you can guarantee that wherever you see in the name Tarbert, there's going to be a narrow isthmus of land, effectively, and this is a perfect example. You can't see the other side, but it's only a matter of yards away. Over to our left is the coast on the other side. It's where the Vikings used to drag the boats across from one side to the other. That's Tarbert for you. I think we'll go here. Right, I'll get a cup of coffee and I'll see you later. Cheers.
Morning people, it's me again. At the end of this first half of the video, just to explain that I'd completely miscalculated just how much footage I'd got for this episode, so I've had to split it. I always record my intros before I do the editing. It's easier that way. In many ways, so yeah, I thought I might get away with it, but there's no way I'm going to put out videos an hour long or anything like that, you know. So hope you understand. The conditions aren't so good, having looked through it, having watched through it. The conditions aren't so good up through Harris and into Lewis, but it is what it is. I just hope you find it interesting. So yeah, second half of this one will come when I've got it sorted. Okay, thanks a lot. Cheers.